Hello everyone, welcome. So today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having a little fun with some technical drawing. So we're going to be modeling Darth Vader's lightsaber. We're going to be doing this in the metric system using millimeters, and all of the dimensions should be pretty accurate. I got most of them from the Wikipedia webpage, which is full of information for the Star Wars enthusiasts out there. So I've done this demo before a few years ago on Rhino 7, but we're going to do it with Rhino 8 using some of the newer tools, including the auto C-plane and push-pull, to just really make this thing a little bit easier, but also showcase some of the latest additions to Rhino. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. This is going to be a pretty technical drawing, so you should learn quite a bit about how Rhino is operating. So first thing that we do is we have a blank user interface here. So to make sure that I'm starting from scratch with all of the default settings, I already did this, but you can type reset, enter, and then go factory reset, and this will get rid of all preferences and things that might be a little wonky on yours, which will make your system look different than mine does. So this is a blank brand new user interface, and let's go ahead and get it set up here. So I have done previous videos showing how the user interface works. Please reference those if this is your very first time using Rhino. I assume you know some basics about maybe a couple of different commands and also how the user interface is laid out before getting started here. So let's go ahead and talk a bit about what we need to have set up. So first things first, I want to have ortho on, which I always like to have on. I want to have the gumball turned on, and that's about it down here. Over here on the right, on the left, I've got the object snap window, which is this window here, turned on. I want to have end, mid, center, perpendicular, tangent, quad turned on for now. I might turn some more of those on later on. And you want to make sure you're in the default template of millimeters here. And if you're not, go ahead and go up to File, New, and select millimeters from your template. And I always like to use this file when it starts. I always use the millimeters with Rhino, even if I'm going to be drawing things in feet and inches, unless I'm doing architecturals. For smaller objects like industrial design stuff, I always use the metric system. But if I wanted to, I can always still use imperial units just by putting a quote for inches next to something, and it'll still give it in relative inches. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to come to the front view here, and while I'm in this tab, if I click in here, I can enter a command. So I'm just going to type anywhere, circle, enter. And I'm going to start my circle at 0. So I hit 0, enter. And if you're wondering what I'm doing, always look up here. You can kind of see the commands that I'm typing. So this circle, I'm going to do a D for diameter, enter of 40 millimeters. Okay. And then I'm going to select this, and I'm going to extrude it back in space 280 millimeters. So I can either type extrude curve and then bring it back 280 millimeters, or Control Z, Control Z, or I can click on this ball here, which is in Rhino 8, and I can click on it, and as long as it's going, and the arrow is going in this direction, I can type 280, and it goes that way. So when I use the ball, it does automatically have a capped off end here. If you use the extrude tool, by default, it does not. 280, enter. It does not have a capped off end there. And the reason for that is sometimes it thinks you might want to use surfaces. But if I type the extrude command, select the object, and go ahead and turn solid to yes, it'll now make it solid, 280, enter. So that's sticky. That's an important thing to remember, because if you're ever extruding things and they come out as surfaces instead of solids, and of course what I mean by that is this face is basically off of there, and you can see, I can see into it. That's not what we want. So, okay, we want a solid object. We got that 280 millimeters with a 40 millimeter diameter end there. So now we need to subdivide this into sections based off of the different parts of the lightsaber. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to bump into the right window here just by double clicking on the word right. And then what I'm going to do is I want to draw a line from this endpoint up, just arbitrarily. It doesn't really matter. I just want to have a line there so that I can use it as a point of reference. So then we're going to use the command offset. So just type offset, enter. We're going to select this line by clicking on it. And then we're going to come up here with the distance, and we're going to enter a new one. I clicked on distance and hit 8, enter. And then you can see it's drawing a line 8 millimeters away from the other one. And then I just click to end that command. Then I click on the new one, which is this guy, and hit enter. And then I don't have to always click on distance. I can just type it. So my next distance is 125 millimeters. Enter, click. Then I'm going to click on this one, hit enter, or the spacebar works too, to bring up the next command. I like to use the spacebar. It's just big and clicky and fun. So the next one we're going to do is 45 millimeters. Enter, click. And then we're going to click on the next one and hit enter. And we're going to do 54 millimeters, 54, enter, click. Then we're going to click on this one and we're going to do 15 millimeters. Oops, sorry. So click on this one and we go 54, enter, click to get out of it. I accidentally escaped before clicking. That's why that didn't work. Okay, enter again, 15 millimeters, enter, click, and then one more time, 15 millimeters, click. All right, so those are our segments, and we select all of them by clicking and dragging, and we drag this down to where they overlap. I don't need this end one here anymore. That was just my starting point. So I click on that and hit delete. And then we want to split this object by our notations here. And then I'm going to switch back into perspective here. I want to showcase the new tool. So our gumball is now has more capabilities here. So if I select these lines here, the gumball now has this capability to split using the gumball. So this little line here is cut. And if I hold down shift, you can see I'm just hovering over it. I haven't clicked anything yet. I'm just hovering over it. I hold down shift and I click on it and then I drag it. It creates these cutting lines. And then I just kind of release and it now cuts these segments. All right. And then so I can actually go ahead and select these lines now and delete them. They were just there for my cutting benefit. Yeah. So another thing that's cool about that split, that cut tool that we've got is it automatically caps these objects off so that that they're solid objects here, which let's go back. I want to show you the difference real quick. I know this is, so I'm going to go to a right view here. So the old school split this object with these objects, enter, and then I go back to perspective here. And yes, it does split them, but it leaves them hollow. So it's a much better tool to have that cut option there. So kudos on Rhino 8 there. So again, let's do it one more time, selecting these curves and then holding down shift, grab the line and pull it out. Then I can just right to left select and delete those, or click them individually and delete them as well. Okay, so now we've got individual segments here. Let's go ahead and put them on different layers, starting from the back here. So click on this one, go to our layer options, make sure that your window is toggled to layers here. Option 1, right click, change object layer, boom. Click on this one, click on this layer 2, right click, change object layer, boom. Third segment, change object layer, boom. Fourth segment, change object layer. Fifth segment, change object layer. And then I don't like that it's gray because I can't verify that it changed. So I will click on here and change the color to gold. Okay. And then right click. Oh, add another layer. Change object layer, or click on this. And you know what the funny thing is these two are going to end up being the same piece. So I'm going to right click, change object layer, and click on this, and I'm going to go ahead and make a red. Okay. For both of them. So this one is actually just going to have a diagonal split right there. And I just am using that 2 separate segments as a point of reference for right now. All right. So next, let's go ahead and get started on the geometry here. So where to start? Let's go from the back to the front. I mean, really, the modeling is not that much more difficult for each one of these segments. It's just getting used to the program, right? So I'm going to click on this object, and then I'm going to do my center mouse wheel click. So again, we need to make sure we're using a 3-button mouse. It's always much better for any CAD-based program to have a 3-button mouse. And then I click on the light bulb and hold it down and go to isolate objects. Okay, subsequently, you can also click on it and type isolate, and that works too. All right, so this is going to be the back end of the hilt. And if we open our other file, I can kind of show you. Oops. So yeah, we're going to do the back end here. So we've got this object here and this object here. So this little ring with all these little bevel edges on here and this little section here is what we're going to work on first. So okay, and then let's go to shaded here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to create this exterior part with these kind of rounded sections here. So let's do that. So we're going to offset this to create a object around it. So we go offset surface, enter, click on this surface, enter. Oops, no, sorry. So offset surface, we need to Control-Shift click to select just one surface. By default, it selected all of the object there, so we don't want that. So we just Control-Shift click, or if you have a Mac, you Command-Shift click. And then hit Enter, and then specify the distance. Oh, actually, I just noticed, I don't want to do this quite yet. I have one more detail I need to add here. So what I'm going to do is I want to give it a little bevel to the edge here. So I'm going to go fillet edge, which rounds the edge. So I'm going to click on this, and then I'm going to go 0.5. Enter, enter. Oh, sorry. Fillet edge, radius 0.5. Click on the object, enter, enter. Okay, so that gives it a little bevel to the back there. Cool. So next, or bevel, it gives it a little fillet to the edge there. So now I'm going to go offset surface, enter, Control-Shift, click, or Command-Shift if you have a Mac. Select that, enter. And then the distance, I'm going to do 1 millimeter. Yeah, 1 millimeter. Looks good. Cool. So that gives me this little ring around here that I can add these little ridge lines to. So let's go ahead and do that next. So I'm going to go and switch views. Down here, I'm going to go to a front view. And we're going to draw a rectangle to start adding some more details to it. So I'm going to click on this and go center out. So again, click on this, selecting this one. I'm going to click on the top quadrant here. And then I'm going to select this at 1. Enter. 2. Enter. Okay, and then when we zoom right in here, I might actually need to move this up ever so slightly just to make sure that it doesn't cause an issue with it being too close to the red section here. Okay, so then I'm going to fillet the top of this with a radius of 0.4. enter, click on this and this, enter, click on this and this, enter. So I've got kind of a little arc with the flat part here. And then enter gets out, select the whole object and join. So it's all one piece. We'll switch back to perspective here. And I will then extrude curve. Make sure solid is set to yes. Not both sides. Solid is set to yes. Not both sides. Solid, yes. Gosh, sorry about that. And then click over here on this snap. Then I'm going to select the object and I'm going to pull it in ever so slightly just so there's no weird overlap. And I'm going to delete my curve. And then what I want to do is I want to fillet the front of this. So fillet edge this time because we're dealing with a 3D object. Enter. And then I want to do a radius. 0.4 is fine. So I'm going to select this, this, and this. Enter, enter. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same back here. Select this, this, and this. Enter, enter. Okay. And you see, it didn't actually round those sections because it had problems doing the math. But it gave me a cutting blade. So now I can split that section out. So split, enter. This object, enter. With this and this, enter. And what that has done is that it's cut off this section here. I can delete it and cut off this section here and delete it. But if I get rid of this, you'll see it's open. You can see through it. So I don't want to get rid of that. I want to split that part. Split this now and this with this. Enter. So that gives me these little ears that I can delete, delete, delete. And now I've got this shape just the way I want. So a little complicated, but it works. So join it all together to make it one piece. Switch to a front view. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make it go all the way around this. So we're going to use a command called array polar. So I'm going to select the object here, enter. I'm going to hover right over here where the center line is. So if you hover and you've got your center snap on, you can see where it is. Click. The number I'm going to do is 75, enter. And then by default, it should be set at 360 degrees. So I hit enter again. And then it shows me a preview of it. If I've got it wrong, I can go escape, enter, click on it again. And I can up the amount or whatever, enter 75, 360. I think 75 looks great. Enter, enter, enter to get out. Once it's black, you know you've got it right. And now we've got all of those objects arrayed around the center object there. So a little complicated, but it works. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off my layer 8 here just so I can hide this. Layer 1 here. And then I'm going to grab this whole thing and Boolean union. Make it all one piece. So click on it. It's all one piece. So joining is for lines or surfaces. Booleaning are for poly surfaces, which are solid objects, basically. Okay, cool. So bring this one back, and let's look at it in render just to see how yeah, that's looking very good. Nice ridge line, something, just good proportions. Everything looks good there. Okay, great. So switch back to shaded, and we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so next we're going to do the little kind of pill-shaped end of the object here. So switch back to a front view again, and this shape, we're going to use a rectangle, and I'm just going to kind of draw whatever, use random dimensions, it doesn't matter. Then draw a circle, and then click on the midpoint here to the end point there. Click on the midpoint to the end point. Make sure you're using your snaps. And then I'm going to trim, and I'm going to select the rectangle, enter, and I'm using that as a cutting object to cut these sections. When I click those, out. Click, click. And then I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm selecting these two as the cutting object, and I'll click here and here. And then I'm going to select both. Oh, Control Z. Do it again. Select this is a cutting, this is a cutting. Trim, trim, enter out of the command. Then I want to make it a little fatter. Okay. And I'm going to move it over where I'm going to use it. and scale it down, shift, and this will scale the whole thing proportionally. Okay. And then I want to move this. So I want it to line up. So I'm going to grab this midpoint here, and I'm going to just put it on the midpoint there. Whoops. Midpoint here to, well, let's do the center. Center. So that gives me, okay, let's do that again just because I know I kind of moved quick there. Okay. Shift and scale to bring the whole thing down in size. Make it a little bit smaller, right about there. Maybe shift to kind of make it a little fatter. Okay, then let's grab the whole thing, join it together. Okay, all one piece, beautiful. Move command, type move, enter. Select the object, enter. Midpoint, and then hover over the center here. It doesn't matter, I'm in ortho, so it's locked in, but it doesn't matter. Just pay attention where the cursor is. And it says center, click. Then I click on this and I move it out, kind of eyeballing it. Okay. And then we use array, polar, enter, select the object, enter, hover over the center, click. Number, we're doing 6, enter, 360 degrees, yes. So hit enter one more time, looks good. Enter one more time. Cool. So that gives you those shapes. Then I can select these shapes and switch to perspective. And then what I want to do is I'm checking. Mine are perfectly right on the surface. So I could actually just push pull them, but I'm not going to. I'm going to actually click on this little ball extrusion here. I click on it. I can go to a top view while it's selected and drag it in about as much as I want it to go. Okay, switch back to perspective. Okay, so I've made those extrusions now. And then what I want to do is Boolean difference, enter, select the object, enter, select this, make sure that it looks proper, enter, and that Boolean difference now created the negative space of those little details on the end there. So let's, again, look at it and rendered. Okay, not bad. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of those curves. So I can go up to edit here and select objects, curves, and then just hit delete to get rid of those. Beautiful. Cool. So that gives us those little details on the end there. And we're ready to move on to the next part. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring everything back here. Center mouse wheel click and right click on the light bulb will bring it all back here. This end piece here, I realize I missed one more division here. So I'm going to isolate it. So I can also click up here on this light bulb and hold it down. Go to isolate, boom. Go to a right view. And I'm going to draw a line from this end here straight up, and I'm going to offset 20. Select this object, go there, and let's go ahead and draw it down, square it out, go to perspective, and hold down shift and use our cutting line to cut that section into a separate one. Okay. Delete. All right. So this segment here is what we're going to be working on. I can delete this curve here. I'm going to create a new layer here. And oops. Let's put it in order here. Layer 9. I'm going to make it green as well. Maybe sea green. Okay. Change object layer. Cool. All right. So this one, I'm going to actually use a new type of object here called a torus. So I'm going to set the construction plane to this flat surface. A new kind of command in Rhino 8 is this auto C plane. So if I click on auto C plane, control shift and click on this, or command shift and click, it automatically aligns the construction plane, which is our grid section here, with the object. So that way I will be working on this end here, which is handy. So I'm going to type torus, enter, hover over so I find my center point. And then I'm going to drag out to maybe my quadrant or the perpendicular up here and click. And then I'm making basically a donut. And so I want to make it big enough to see, but not huge. All right, click. That looks about right. So then what I want to do is move it and just kind of eyeball it so it's not completely on the end there. Okay. Then I want to offset this, this green section here. So offset, surface, enter, Control Shift click on this to grab that section there, enter, 0.5, enter, enter. Okay. And I actually need to, yeah, let me do that again. So erase the torus there, do a new torus, and go to the center. And then I'm going to click out here. And then I just want it to be a little bit bigger. So you got to watch your snaps. Sometimes you disable the snaps. It makes it a little easier to control because it won't try to jump onto a snap. And then get close. Click. Yeah, that looks good. Okay. Re-enable. So just undo the disable here. And then I'm going to pull this over about to there. Okay. And then we're going to do 5 of these. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to hold down Alt and click on this and go -3. -3, Alt. Actually, let me see. Copy is Alt. Tap Alt. There we go. So it's a little weird. So I have to hit Alt, click on the object, hit Alt, move, let go, -3, enter. Okay. Alt, click. Actually, you know what? I need to make this a little bigger. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger here. So I'm going to hold down Shift and just kind of pull it out. No. I'm going to pull it just one way. No Shift. Just kind of pull it like that. Let's look at it in rendered. Sometimes that helps visualize. Okay, so I'm going to move it a little bit this way. Okay, back to shaded. All right, so now I'm going to hit Alt and click, and then -3, enter. Okay, click, Alt, click, -3, enter. Click, Alt, click, -3, enter. And you can see it already says -3. Click, Alt, click. So I just have to hit enter because it keeps the last dimension. All right, and then the next thing I want to do is I want to create a little upraised section on the end here. So I'll go to a right view, and I'm going to draw a line from about right there, straight down, and go to perspective here, use my Shift and click on the cutting line. So that just cut this section out. All right. And then I'm going to go offset surface, offset, surface, select Control Shift, click on that exterior area, enter. And then my dimension, I'm going to do 0.5, enter. Looks pretty good. Yeah. Okay. So that gives me that little detail. And then what I want to do is I want to make it all one piece. So I'm going to click on this and hit delete and select the whole thing and Boolean union it all together. Okay. Isolate it so you can see. All right. And then I got this, for some reason, I went back onto the, oh, well, it's because the default layer is selected. So right click on this, change object layer, make it green. Click on this, right click here. All right. Oh, that's weird. I did it on the wrong dang end. I wanted this to be down here. So what can I do with that? So let's go ahead and reset our auto seaplane by turning it off by clicking on that. Now I'm straight here. So if I click on this and shift click on this, my gumball, I should be locked into where I can just rotate this around. Yeah, because I had my object snaps turned on my ortho turned on. So it snapped it into position. So again, I have it like this. If I select this and shift select to add to the selection and then grab the blue rotate here and just rotate it twice with ortho turned on, it goes all the way back over there. All right. And then this is also rotated the wrong way. So select that and that. Working off the wrong direction here. Rotate both ways. Okay, so now we've got those details in the right spot. I also want to make this go onto a new layer here. So add another layer and change object layer. Let's make this a new color. We'll do like a lavender. Lovely. Okay. Lavender, lovely. All right, so we've got those end sections all done. Next, we're going to be working on this purple section here. So the purple section has some like grips on it. Okay, like this. So we've done this, this, and this. Now we've got to do the grips that go on that stainless steel part. Making some good progress. Almost halfway there. Okay, so here what we got to do is we're going to add these like little rubber kind of grips all the way around. There's 7 of them. So let's go ahead and isolate this. Center mouse wheel click on this or type the word isolate. Okay, switch to a front view. Okay, actually keep it in perspective for a second. So now we're going to offset surface again. Select Control Shift click on the outside there and hit enter. Distance we're going to do is 1 millimeter. Click, click. Okay. So now we've got this section. We're going to switch to a front view. We're going to go up the center here and we're going to draw a line from the quadrant right here straight up 5 millimeters. Enter, click to get out. Then I'm going to go over this direction, 0.5 millimeters, click. I'm going to go over this way, 0.5 millimeters, click. I'm going to draw a line straight down to, why does it say perpendicular when it's not? Okay, straight down to there. Draw a line straight down to there. All right. And I'm actually, I don't even need this line. I'm going to delete this line. I'm going to draw a rectangle from here to up there. And then I want to select, not this curve, that one, delete, click on this one, curve, delete, click on this one, curve, delete, click on this one, delete. Okay. So next I want to draw a line straight this direction, 4 millimeters, click, this direction, 4 millimeters, click. And then I'm going to draw a line straight down this way and draw a line straight down this way. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to split this. So split this object, enter with this and this, enter. And because they overlap on both sides, it should have worked. If I switch to perspective, I'll show you what I just did. So I just deleted basically this. So I can click on that. And now you can see I've got an object that matches the curvature of this object. But it's open. Hard to see unless we're in rendered. If we're in rendered, you can see, especially over here, that it's open on the sides. We don't like that. We want to make sure it's not. And since we made it a nice straight line, if you did not do this properly, this capping will not work. But I'm going to cap it because I drew it straight. And if that didn't work, you got to redo it. Redo the section I just did. So then I've got this rectangle here. And I'm going to extrude the curve all the way down to that endpoint. Okay. And again, this is solid, which is what we want. And the reason why it's solid, I keep going over this because a lot of times my students have issues with this. Extrude, solid is selected as yes. Okay. And then we go ahead and Boolean union to make it all one piece. I can get rid of any of these unnecessary curves by left to right selecting and deleting, left to right selecting and deleting, or clicking on them individually if you can't quite get that to work. All right, so next we want to change the shape of this to match our kind of triangular looking bevel here. So I'm going to click Control-Shift, click on this section, Polysurface Edge, Control-Shift, click, or Command-Shift if you have a Mac, Polysurface Edge. And then I'm going to go ahead and disable my snaps. Make sure you don't have grid snap or anything random turned on. And I'm going to go ahead and switch to a front view. And I'm going to pull this way, about yay much. Very scientific. Then I'm going to pull this up like about there. Okay. And let's go back to perspective and give it a look. Give it a look-see. And I might bring it in a little bit. It looks a little too dramatic. Okay. Good. So that'll work. All right. Let's bring back everything here. So I do not want these to match up perfectly, so I'm going to Control-Shift or Command-Shift click if you have a Mac on those two lines, and then I'm going to pull them up so they overlap ever so slightly on the top there. All right, and then I'm going to escape, Control-Shift click on this face, and I'm going to move it so that it almost goes to the edge there, like that. Cool. So that's how that's going to look. And then I'm actually going to Control-Shift click on this face and kind of bring it in ever so slightly, just so that there's a little bit of an end to it right there. Cool. Then what I want to do is I want to array this bad boy around there 7 times. So let's do that next. So I'm going to select this and go ahead and isolate it. Type the command isolate if you are feeling like that's important. Instead of using the light bulb auto C-plane, I'm going to Control-Shift click here. So now I've got my construction plane there. And then I'm going to click on that and go array, polar. And then I'm going to turn my snaps back on, make sure center's there, click on the center, number 7. And then I'm going to hit enter, enter, enter. And then right click on this to bring it all back. Awesome. So we look at it here in rendered. Very cool. So we've got now that section. We're halfway there, people. So that's great. Next, let's go ahead and create a new layer for these objects. Shaded here. So this, and that. Okay. And a new layer. And we'll make it kind of a pinkish color. Change object layer. And let's see, pink. Magenta, violet. Violet sounds good. I like that. Okay. Very cool. So that's the first half. Let's move on to the blue section here. So let's go ahead and select this section here and click on our center mouse wheel or type the word isolate, whatever trips your trigger. Turn off the auto C-plane here. Actually, keep it on. Auto C-plane, Control-Shift click on this face. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to offset surface, Control-Shift click on this, and then hit enter, 1, enter, enter. Okay. So we got a 1 millimeter offset there. All right. Then we're going to do another torus from the center out to here. And then we're going to go ahead and make it turn off the snaps here so that we're not going wonky. Not quite right. Do it again. Turn the snaps on to grab our center. Turn the snaps off. And, well, turn them back on, actually. I want to grab this quadrant right here and then disable them. What about there? That looks good. Okay. Then I'm going to go to a top view. And I want to move this so it's just right on that line there. You can let it overlap slightly. It might make it easier to Boolean union if you do so. Okay, and then I'm going to click on this section here and mirror it. Enable my snaps. Mid is turned on. Do I have a mid? Do I have a mid? I do not have a mid. Okay, so then in that case, what we're going to do is draw a line from, oh, sorry, let's just copy it. Copy it here, and we're going to go just slightly overlapped. Perfect. So it should be about as accurate as it needs to be. Great. Next, I want to, there's a raised up section on this, so I'm going to draw a rectangle, and I'm going to do that from a front view, though. Front view. This rectangle is going to go from rectangle. I'm going to do a 3-point rectangle again and go from this quadrant up here. I'm going to go 40. Oh, I'm sorry, 15. 15, enter, 15, enter. Okay, and then this needs to be moved up to right about there. Let's look at it in perspective. Okay. And then we move it in kind of like that. Turn off my auto C-plane here. So perfect. And then we're going to go ahead and extrude it. About like that. About like that. Okay. Cool. So the next thing, there's a little lip on the top of these that kind of protrudes out of the section here. So let's go ahead and make that happen. So the easiest way to do that is turn our auto C-plane back on, draw a rectangle from here to not center, disable. No, enable. This time I'm going to use near, and I'm going to turn center off so it doesn't accidentally grab. And I'll go about right there. Okay. And then I want to do a mirror of that. So I'm going to click on this, go to a top view, and mirror it so it goes onto the other side. So mid, and then draw the mirror line straight up and click. So now you should have, if you follow that mirror command, one on this side and one on this side. Okay. So let's do a new command, push pull. This is one that's brand new for Rhino. Click on this, and I'll do 1 millimeter this way and 1 millimeter that way. Okay. And then we want to actually see these curves here. Curve here and curve here. Grab both of these, and I'm going to actually scale them in like that. Okay, so I'm just using these as a reference point because I'm going to draw a rectangle from that corner to this corner. And it's weird, I know, like what are you doing? But the more you get used to this program, the more like you start to really develop like little tricks and stuff. So again, rectangle from here. Oh, let's do Control-Shift-Click on this. So my rectangle goes the right direction, and then do a rectangle from there to there. So I did the C-plane on the top there. Cool. So I didn't want these little edges to be perfectly in line here. I want them to be a little bit of a bevel, but not too close. Like, so I need to have a little bit of a lip inside of here. Otherwise, if it's corner to corner, that ain't going to work. All right, so then we push pull this section, enter, bring it down to about maybe the midpoint there. maybe a little bit more. So just using the near there. Okay. Yeah, see, we don't want it to be like a corner on corner. We like to have this like full shape here. All right, cool. So I'm going to turn the auto seaplane off so it stops jumping around. And then I'm going to Control-Shift-Click on this and Control-Shift-Click on this. And I'm actually going to make it a little bit more dramatic. Just kind of eyeballing it, but I want it to look right. I think that looks pretty good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sink this down a little bit more because I feel like it's sticking up too much. Let's go ahead and bring everything back and have a look at it. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Cool. No, I'm going to leave it up a little bit more. All right, cool. So this is great. Let's go ahead and select all of our objects here. Actually, let's go left to right, select in the center here, click, and isolate these. And then we'll Boolean union them all together. Type Boolean union, turn blue, so it's now on that layer, all one solid object. Very cool. Next, we've got these little like spheres that are like little buttons that are inlaid there, and there's 6 of them. So I'm going to draw a line from this midpoint here to this midpoint here so that I've got a nice point of reference here. And then I want to divide this and have 6 dots basically that I can align on. So I'm going to go divide 8. Why 8? Because there's a dot here and a dot here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to do divide 7. So there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that should be right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. So we do a sphere. Sphere, enter. Click on the point, like that. And then copy. We can use this point set here. Where is it? Vertex, not vertex. What is this? I'm going to turn near off. Oh, wait, here's point. Sorry. Point to point to point to point to point to point. Enter. Okay. So you want me to do that again? Let's do it again just because it's a little confusing. So we have our line, curve, divide. It's the command. Enter. Now reverse that segment. 7. Enter. Okay. Out of the command, you can see by the fact it says command here. Make sure your point snap is turned on. Sphere. And then I'm eyeballing the size of this sphere. Okay? And then we copy. C-O-P-Y. Select the object to copy. Enter. Specify the base point for displacement, which I'm going to use this as a relative base point. This to there. So I'm just clicking the points all the way across. And then hit enter when you're done. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and go to a front view here. And I'm just going to left to right select the center port here, which gives me a selection that selected all of that junk, and hit delete. Okay, right click brings it back. And now we've got that segment. Awesome. Cool. So again, new layer for these guys. Okay, and we'll make this one a different color. Oops. We used violet before. Let's use magenta now. Change object layer. All right. Let's look at it in render just to check our work. Beautiful. So I think what we'll do is we'll stop here, and in the second part, we'll continue to complete the lightsaber and talk a little bit more about prepping it for export. Thank you very much. See you on the next one.